started work on that MR, I think, to tweak the add event stuff, and we're trying to get some stuff set up locally, I think.
Yeah, so last time I tried getting everything set up locally, um, the issue that I ran into is, so, if you remember, some of the code you have like coded out so that it only activates in certain
Yeah, there's
versions.
like a guard clause that says if you're in the development environment, don't create a new issue or something like that.
Yes. So what I'm trying to do right now is, well, I'm loading the dev container. Give me 1 second.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, it's definitely be a nice place to improve. And I don't know what the best, because you've got like a bunch of different scenarios, right? So in production, like you don't really want this development-y type code in the production code base, but at the same time, I certainly do, and I think others on our team do as well. It's like we run with production credentials, if that makes sense. So like we can test in production. Um, it's a lot easier than always having a GDK set up and everything configured for the GDK. So I'm not sure if there's a better way, but it'd be really nice to have an easy toggle between like, okay, I want to work in production, or I want to work locally in development, but connected to GitLab production, and I want everything to work properly. I want issues to be created. I want etc. etc. And then another scenario where it's like I'm working in development and I want to be connected to GDK. There might be other scenarios I've not thought of, but there's definitely a few distinct ones like that.
I did solve that in one of our products, but I don't think it's pretty much applicable to GitLab. I do a dump
Okay.
of the database locally
So
and
we've
have
got
access.
that, and actually, Dennis did something really cool recently. Jim, do you know when you created this branch, like how old the head was?
what do you mean the head?
So when you created this branch, like, did you have a very recent main branch, and have you done it in the last like 2 or 3 days, sort of thing, or?
I did it on Sunday.
Cool. So can you open a file called, oh, what is it called? It's got rake tasks in it.
Rake file?
db.rake or something like that. It'd be in the um task folder. Just say back in my local.
Hmm.
My local might not even be up to date, but there's a really cool
I have DB migrate.
no, it will be, where is it? Tasks.
Could it be referenced in the rake file?
Wait, no, it won't be in there. If you look at the tasks folder, so it's lib/tasks, I think.
I don't have a, oh, I do have a lib.
Hmm.
Doesn't
Cloud SQL
look
proxy?
like. Ah, yeah. That's it. Yeah, exactly. So this is the way that the contributor platform connects to the Postgres database. And Dennis just created this, well, you can see a couple of days ago, essentially.
So you guys are
No
using
good.
Runway for this, right?
So we use Runway to deploy the Rails application to Cloud Run. But then Cloud Run connects to Cloud SQL using Cloud SQL Proxy. And this is only useful for team members, unfortunately, because you do need the credentials. Um, but he's automated using like Rake, what we used to do before. It wasn't the worst process in the world, but um, download the Cloud SQL proxy binary. You download like the credentials from our one password. You start the proxy, and then you can do a dump of the production database, and then a restore of the production database locally, and then
Really?
stop the thing. So yeah, this is pretty cool. And like I say, I used to do it in a few separate steps. I used to manually run a few console terminal commands, where now you just run one rake task and it does all five of those things or whatever at once, which is pretty cool.
The production database, isn't that humongous?
No, it's I'm saying it like I know. Let me just see if I've actually got it locally, but it's less than a gig, put it that way. I say
Okay, so
that,
it's
but
not the full
well,
production database.
well, the contributor platform production database.
Oh, okay, okay. Now I was talking about the GitLab production database.
I got it. So I
Oh,
think it's 180 meg the
Okay,
production, which
okay.
seems so small, which is
Well, it's
insane
compressed.
because of the performance issues we have. Like that, like really surprises me, if you know what I mean. It's like, well, surely you should be able to load that into memory, and it should be like every transaction should be instantaneous. But
what
hey ho.
performance issues do we have?
So we had to we've created like what are called materialized views, where like the to generate the leaderboard, for example, like the aggregation that we have to do, where we have to say, right, for every user over this period of time, like how many merge requests did they create, how many merge requests were merged, how many commits were pushed, how many issues did they open, how many comments did
Hmm.
they add, how many Discord messages, all of that. Um, like initially when we built the platform, it made those requests like real time to get those numbers. But now we have a materialized view that I think it's every 5 minutes when we import more data, does all of those calculations and kind of basically stores it in a table. It's called a materialized view, but essentially it's storing that data in a table. Um, so that's the main issue that we have is the aggregation of the data. And obviously, in order to be able to do a leaderboard, it's a I don't know what you call this operation where you have to calculate everything, even just to show like the first page, because until you've calculated every user's contributions in every columns and multiplied it and worked out their score, you don't know whether you actually need that user or not. So yeah, it's like this chicken and egg kind of problem where it's like I can't optimize this in such a way that I can only look at the people I want to look at.
Hmm.
I need to do it all. So yeah, every 5 minutes when we import data from GitLab, we recreate this view or we refresh the materialized view is what it's called. Which takes it used to take 10 seconds. I imagine that hasn't changed massively, but you imagine every time someone views the leaderboard, it taking 10 seconds to do the calculations versus once every 5 minutes, the 10 seconds and that storing, and then every time somebody accesses it, being instantaneous sort of thing. It's
Okay.
that's the main issue. Sorry, I digress so much from helping you with your actual problem. So do you want to rewind and go back? So we're talking about the issue creation that's blocked by if you're in the development environment, essentially.
Yes. So I have to exit my thing to view my env file, correct?
No, you can do it here, but I think it's like env.docker or something, and it might be in a subfolder. Let me just confirm exactly where it is.
I won't stop sharing for a second.
Yeah, so in the Docker folder, and it's .env.docker.
Yeah, .env.docker.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the one.
Let me just make sure that there's Postgres. I don't care. App ID would be specific to my instance.
So you using a GDK or are you using a
I'm using my local development GitLab instance.
cool. Yeah. So the app ID, like, and the app secret are meaningless, and any API tokens if they're connecting to. Oh, that was scary, Mark.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Um,
local to my network, so if anyone gets in my network, then they can get it, but I don't really care.
yeah, yeah. So they're not too sensitive or secret. If you've got an Anthropic key, more sensitive.
They can steal my brilliant key, but
Or that could be dangerous.
well, brilliant API token.
Yeah, I'd be impressed if that was capable of compromising anyone's production system for sure.
So then I'm here then. So when I launch this, I'm blinking cancel. I'm blinking on what port does this normally run on? I'm blanking.
The contributor platform 3030.
So the issue that I kept running into was I got it, and of course my local server's offline right now, but um, I could get into the platform. I was able to log
Okay.
in, but when I went to the create an issue, it would just stop creating the issue
Okay.
because
Yeah.
of some of the logic that was in there.
Yeah.
So what I was hoping to do is because there's two places I have to make my change to, plus tests. So what I'm trying to do is just add an end date to events as like optional. So that
Hmm.
would be this add event model or modal.view. And then
Exactly. Yeah.
my create service, correct?
Yes.
Are there any other places I have to touch it as well?
There might be some change needed in the controller. I think there's an events controller. I'm not sure if it just passes the params as they are, or if it does any kind of filtering or um, so there will be a controllers folder a little bit further up, I think. I see it. Um, and it'll be API v1 events controller. So yeah, we specifically line 17 permit which parameters we want to pass. So we would need to add um,
That was the other issue that I was running into
awesome,
because it
awesome. So
wasn't.
it was vanishing somewhere, was it, between
Yes.
the cool, cool.
Okay.
Um,
I th- and then what does the tests that I have to do look like for this then? Just passing
so
with and without?
yeah, I think I would probably add so I'd probably keep the existing test and maybe we want to tweak the naming so it sort of makes it clearer that it's with and without. So yeah, so the front end test, should we just have a look what we've got at the moment? I imagine I probably haven't got amazing tests in here. I don't know if we can see what we so renders when they're not approved, so we can kind of collapse that section because we're not really interested in what happens when they're not approved. Um, and then when the form is submitted, so this is filling in all of the fields, but not the end date yet, presumably. It checks it, makes an API call with the expected stuff and it's an event. Um, so I would probably, it's really hard to know because there's already probably optional fields in here, right? Like, I imagine the note is an optional field, right?
I believe that is correct. Yes.
But we're just filling everything out anyway. So arguably, if you want to follow the existing pattern in the front end spec, I would probably just add a little bit further up where we're finding all of the fields and filling them in. I would just add the end date one, fill it in, and then change the expectation on sort of line 75-ish, to check that the end date is being passed to the API as well. So that would probably be fine. But you could argue that it might be really nice for us to create a second test in here where we do the minimum viable or whatever you want to call it field. So we don't fill in the note field and we don't fill in the end date field and any other optional field. So we do one with all of the fields filled in. So we make sure all the data is passed to the API. And we do one where we do the bare minimum just to make sure that it still makes the API call, that it doesn't
Now,
reject it. And
we don't have any tests directly on the or the create service for this event issue description, do we?
I would expect there to be controller tests and service tests, as well as the front end tests that you've already opened up there. So in that spec folder, um, services, and then events, create a
Okay.
service spec. So we've got something there. Um,
Okay, so it would be down here then. So essentially do
yeah, there's
this.
probably a params object somewhere that we're defining the params we're passing to the um, service. Yeah, there you go. So the params there, so we can add the end date in there, and then yeah, just make sure that it's then making it to wherever it should be making it.
Okay. And I can do another let params down here, correct? To change the
You
param.
can, but again, probably the simplest like first step I would do was like, because again here it doesn't look like we're specifically doing, oh, what happens if we don't fill out this field? Does it default to this? Does it? So like the most basic, like minimum viable, acceptable, whatever you want to call it, would be just to add it into this existing params
Okay.
object and update the existing assertion. Like I say, I think a nice to have, maybe we create a follow-up issue after this MR and say be really nice for I would probably all three, probably for the front end spec, the service spec, and the controller spec to test them all, with both the minimum required fields as well as the all fields to make sure that
Is that
they
something that your bot from last week that I saw like 20 minutes before I fell back asleep could do?
um I mean, we could definitely try asking one of the AIs. I can't remember which one that was. But yeah, we could definitely, if we create the issue with a little bit of detail, especially and sort of say that it's specifically these three specs. And at the moment they're testing like with all fields completed, but there are a few optional ones. These are what they are. Can we add a test without those just to make sure that it's still accepted and it behaves as expected? We could definitely try it.
Are those bots enabled on the contribute or on the community fork?
Yeah, they should be. What gets a bit confusing sometimes is the kind of context, because obviously you wouldn't create the issue in the fork, you would create it in the canonical.
Okay.
Um, but you should have access to those custom agents. But again, we would probably use a flow rather than an agent. This is again where I get a little bit sort of, when you've got 100 different ways of cracking an egg, like which do you which do you use?
Remind
Um,
me, what's the difference between a flow and an agent?
So with the
Oh,
flows, you t trigger them by either clicking a button. So there's a couple of like foundational flows built into GitLab, like one to convert a Jenkins CI file into a GitLab CI file, one to troubleshoot a broken pipeline, one to convert an issue into a merge request. So there's actual like buttons in the UI. Um, Custom flows, you basically assign them a username. So you initiate those by like either assigning them to an issue or a merge request, or by at mentioning them in an issue or merge request. We don't have many of those at the moment. Um, but an agent is more for chat, if that makes sense. You chat with an agent and specifically ask him something, and he might say, "Oh, can you give me permission for this? And how do you want to approach that, etc." The flow is a bit more autonomous, where you just say, "Hey, go and do this," and you just leave it to it and hope for the best. I'm more comfortable with agents at the moment, and I tend to, even though agents can do things like create commits and push commits and raise merge requests and do this, that, and the other, I tend to prefer to have a conversation. It give me suggestions, ideas, code, whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I like that, and either I'll apply it or whatever, like
I
I'm not
think that's what I
quite.
was using a couple on my last contribution to the contributor platform, where I hit some button and it did stuff and it committed on the canonical instead of a non-canonical or something.
Got it, got it. And that's I don't know if I call it a danger, but like of now that you've got developer access to the
Right.
canonical, that it's able to do that. I do remember, I think it's a video that I potentially shared when we were in Amsterdam, actually, where I think I just managed to figure out how to fix the bug so that community members could get access to Duo when in the canonical projects. And we have this real kind of, so you can do different things. You could go into the fork and you could say, looking at this issue in the canonical project, can you solve it? Blah, blah, blah. Or you can be in the canonical project and say, looking at this issue, please create this commit branch merge request in the fork sort of thing. So it's quite hard, like saying, well, the issue is in canonical, but I want you to put the branch and the MR in the fork. So you know what I mean? Like
Right.
you have to be quite explicit with it. And I know I went through multiple rounds and um struggled a little bit just because I guess this is, I don't want to say it's not conventional the way we're working with forks and like canonical and whatever, but um yeah, AI is definitely still learning, and I think like community contributions definitely aren't as advanced as I'd like them to be. Like good example. I've been contributing a bit more upstream to projects recently. Predominantly, they're on GitHub, right?
Hmm.
I think that I'm trying to think, like there was a maybe a Discord gem one, and there was Renovate Bot, and there was Rails, and a few like that, and all of them, like I never know what to do after I've raised the MR. There's just this kind of like, so I just hope that somebody picks up the pull request. Whereas obviously we've got like the bot that tells you what to do, and even self gives you this ability to self-serve and request a review and add labels and do this, that, and the other. Like
Yeah.
all
I
these
think that's
other
a
open source projects. Go on.
I think part of that is there's a different, I don't want to say culture, but at like s- uh typically on GitHub you only raise the MR after, whereas on GitLab you do it as basically as soon as you start working on something.
Right, so you do all the dev locally, and then when you push, you create your pull request, you're ready for your review essentially. And
Correct.
um yeah, so I mean that's when I've questioned it. Most of the maintainers have said, yeah, we'll just pick it up. Like you don't need to ask anyone. There's no process. But I
Hmm.
even find that weird. And I think in one of them, I raised the pull request to update the docs to sort of say when you're ready, do this, or someone will automatically pick up your pull request or something like that. And it got closed and rejected. It was like, no, this is how community contribution, how open source works. Um, I'm not sure I agree with that, but I guess, I appreciate that I have got fairly localized knowledge, if that makes sense. I've contributed to lots of
Hmm.
GitLab projects and very few um, projects outside of the GitLab world. So, maybe that is a bit more the norm, but doesn't mean we can't try and change that, right? So, do you think you've got what you need, Jim?
I think so. So I have to troubleshoot why my tunnel went down, but that's a tomorrow problem. So
Cool, cool.
if I have any issues, I will ping you guys to see what's happening and go from there.
Awesome. Sounds good. Um, Anything else random on your list or anything on your list, Marco?
Not really, no.
Um, I sidelined you earlier. You mentioned something about having a solution, but you didn't think it'd work for like, was that for backing up and restoring the database or?
Yeah. I back up the database and production or install it locally to test production data locally, and that's why I thought you were talking about the main GitLab project, and that wasn't a feasible solution because
Ah, okay.
good luck doing
Yeah,
a
yeah,
full
yeah,
backup of
yeah.
that database.
That would be very amusing if um yeah, definitely. Um cool. I'm
I
trying
have
to think if there's
one
good.
more entirely random thing that I just thought of. In GitLab, is there any way to disable search on a project?
Not that I know of.
Search
Um
of what type? Like there are many searches.
All right, so project search. So give me or 1 second and I will pull something up.
Yeah, probably use case. I know like there's the obviously there's what I'm going to call advanced search and normal search. Advanced I think uses Elastic behind
Mhm.
the hood, and I think that can be maybe enabled on project basis. I'm not too sure, but I don't think you can switch the
Ah,
just.
darn it. I screwed that up. That never deleted the file. I will come back to that in a little bit. What I'm trying to do is I have a some sort of thing where I'm trying to get people to learn like about truffle hog and some of the other the secret scanners and stuff inside of GitLab. So
Cool.
my goal is to do something like that, which is fine. But the problem that I run into is if I do a search up here, so I'm trying to make them search for the string CTF. They can do it and they get the flag right there.
Mm.
But I want to make them so they have to download it, run the scanner directly on their local repository, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean it does, but I guess your problem is presumably you wouldn't want to prevent them being able to search for anything, if you know what I mean. So,
Right.
you know, I
Well,
don't know
that's why
what
I'm
what.
saying I just want to disable search altogether and
Mm.
use GitLab just for CI and
Oh, so you
cloning.
would be okay with that then. You don't need them to be able to search for something else random that, like a um
So
yeah.
the other thing that they're going to be doing as well is they go in and they will fork my repository and then they change the CI on their end. And I've set up some not so great secret stuff so that it automatically builds the CI and will expose some of the CI to like the wrong things, if that makes sense. So like some of the
Possibly.
project variables that are in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it's a free tier and like it probably isn't overly helpful for you anyway, but I found I learned some really cool and really interesting stuff recently. Um, and I think I might have started talking about it a little bit last week. Um, so for we're running this AI hackathon next month, and um similar to what we are talking about community earlier on and permissions and privileges and that kind of stuff, we have a bit of a challenge on our hands. Like how do we get our community access to the Duo AI stuff that they need and to be able to create agents and flows in the catalog and enable them in a project and those kind of things. Um, Now, what I've come up with as a solution is to use a whole bunch of cool features that I had to learn. I had not played with before, but like the primary one is security policies and pipeline execution policies. And I mean, well, it's more pipeline execution, a bit of both. So basically, I've configured a group on GitLab.com so that all of the projects in that group use a certain GitLab CI. Like the people that the developers in that project can't like they can add a GitLab CI to that project and it just won't do anything. It uses a GitLab CI from another project that is kind of locked down. Um, so yeah, it uses a pipeline execution policy to enforce that CI pipeline on all projects in that group. And then there was some more magic in there. So the CI then is using the enforced CI YAML is using a CI component, which this kind of sub team that I'm working on at the moment, like Matthias and Dennis, the sort of AI part of contributor success, have created this CI component, and this CI component will sync an agent definition or a flow definition from the repo into the database using some cool like JavaScript code, and it will enable it in the group and the project. But to do that, it needs like a token, it needs security. So of being able to like store a token that none of the developers in those projects have access to because the token's stored against the remote project, if that's the right term, which they don't have access to. Um, but as I say, that's ultimate tier, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that helps, but as I say, it's just a way of allowing CI to be controlled outside, so you can give people like developer access, probably even maintain a plus to a project, but they still can't override the CI.
Yeah. So my biggest goal is to get those, try to teach a developer some security stuff. So, which is hit or miss. So,
Yeah. The only thing, and again, I don't pretend to know all the specifics. I'm sure it's ultimate features again. But there are some, let me just see what they're actually called. So, uh, community, like, I don't know if it's like SAST or DAST or all the various bits and pieces where you can basically turn something on that will, um, like reject a commit outright if it thinks it contains a secret.
right.
Where did you configure that?
And that's
Um,
part of what I'm trying to show people is, hey, there's tools built in that can help enable you so that you don't have to think about this again, if that makes sense. So
Should be
Yeah.
on push rules, probably.
it
Let me
would be
have a
under
look.
push rules, yes.
Uh,
That's under repository, right?
Yes.
Predefined push
And yes,
rules.
that is under ultimate, or what's the other one? The first two.
Uh, oh God. Pro, is it? Premium.
Uh,
Premium. Premium. My brain just seized for a minute.
Premium doesn't sound right.
I think it is. Let me check. I'm sure it's premium.
yeah, it is.
Is it?
Yep.
Okay.
Free, premium, and
Premium
ultimate.
and
Yeah.
ultimate. Okay.
I'm just going to have a look because I can't see under the repository settings a push rule. So I'm trying to see where this because I had it a while ago where I wasn't able to push. So in the contributors project, there's tests or yeah, there's some code that has personal access tokens that are fake, like GLPAT dash XXXXXXX, and that was getting blocked. So
Hmm.
somewhere I had to set up a kind of exclusion to say, oh, this one's safe. I'm trying to see where I did it though.
You would have done that under, well, what I found as well is I didn't realize that there was this redact text now. I assume that just does a giant rebase.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, I've not seen that before either.
Me neither.
So
Yeah,
that
so in the security configuration, I found like the secret detection, secret push protection, which has the exclusions.
where was that
Um,
you said?
do you want me to share my just because with the
Yep,
ultimate
that works.
subscription, imagine it. So yeah, for the Git contributors platform, we've got like secret detection configuration, and it's got this is like an exclusion. And I think I even had to add a file to the repo as well. Don't know if like one was like pre-commit and one was post or yeah. So I've got this extend git leaks configuration. Um, yeah, and it basically says like, allow this token
Oh, so that was
something.
because you guys run Git leaks on your local machines as part of the push stuff.
Well, no, I don't actually. That's what's cool about this is it's not running in CI, it's not running locally,
It
it's
runs as
running in
left hook
go on.
though, doesn't it?
Was that sorry?
Doesn't it run in left hook? Don't we have a left hook set up here?
For the GitLab project, yes. For the contributor platform, no.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
So something magic somewhere is doing it. The many things I've managed to learn and figure out about GitLab, that's not one of them that I've dived into yet. But yeah, there must be some clever engine somewhere that's kind of happening. Um, I guess it's not commit, it must be on the push rather than the commit.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's checking against
They're
that.
back.
So, but yeah, so some of this it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I've definitely got to explore a lot of the product over the last couple of years. Stuff that I hadn't touched before, wasn't aware of.
At least
Um,
you're willing to learn it and get exposed to it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's generally the biggest challenge, right? Like, not everyone's as curious and enthusiastic as us. Um, and yeah, trying to force their hand. Yeah, I don't know. But
That's
disabling
a
the
topic
search,
for that's a topic for a whole nother day.
absolutely,
I have
absolutely.
so many stories.
So interestingly, I helped like my old company set up. So talking about like policies, security policies and stuff. So literally like a couple of weeks before implementing this stuff for the AI hackathon using the pipeline execution policies, um, I set up, I'm trying to think if it was called a merge request policy. I think it might have been approval policy. Let me see if I can find it quickly, which was pretty cool as well. Like, which enforces, so rather than configuring at project level, like the approvals that you need on a merge request, you can do it like at group or instance level, um, which is really cool. Because again, before I had lots of like API automations that would just go through, and I suppose it's a bit like Terraform, right? Check that
Mhm.
the configuration of all your projects is X or Y or whatever, but actually being able to do it within the product itself is super cool.
So I
Just
set
miss.
up Terraform for my local GitLab server. And
Yeah.
I really like how they have all this is how you set it up, the how-to guide that the that um, the team at GitLab made um, is just absolutely wonderful.
Is
So
it opinionated, if that makes sense?
it is a little bit. So they go through like, okay, this is the role that I'm in. I'm a team lead. This is how I'm going to make all of my team lead projects go. And this is what we need to do. And it's very nice and very set up. It is like I didn't even need to know how to set up Terraformer. I think
Cool.
went through all of that, which was great.
Cool, cool. Yeah, the it was called a merge request approval policy. It was the first one I set up before I did the pipeline execution policy. Yeah, and that was super cool to learn that it was possible. Like I think it's group level, but the way that I've configured their instance and the way that I would recommend anyone using self-managed to set up an instance is to have a single group at the top level because certain stuff is only available for groups and not for instances. So it just makes life easier to have a single top level group.
Even if you want
Yeah.
to share labels between all your projects or groups.
So there are actually instance labels, if I
They
remember
don't
rightly.
work the way you
Ah,
think it, because I thought the same,
oh
but
yeah,
they're
they when you create a new group or project, it automatically, yes, yes, yes. I remember now. Um, yeah, and also, yeah, no, exactly. So then if you want to change something, yeah, no, it's much single top level group is the way forward.
Yes. So
Um,
we did single top level group for us, and then we had a specific customers group because we do a lot of work for other customers. And then each one of their customers would get a their own subgroup inside that customers group, and then
Kind of makes
in
sense.
each location would get their own group. So, for example, like if I'm working out of the London office, they'd get their own group, and then finally all the projects that they have. And we had
So
forks inside forks inside forks.
so like a top level group called customers, a main internal one, then a bunch of top level groups for your regions as well, are you saying?
So no. So what it
They're a
would be is
subgroup of,
it we would have one instance level group. So everyone gets added to that. So that
yeah,
was name of our company.
yeah,
Then under that we had two groups, which
cool,
is like internal and then
perfect.
customers.
Yeah,
Internal,
yeah,
we would have like all of our actual projects and stuff,
yeah.
internal projects. Then under customers, we would have a group for each one of our customers. And then Well, that's where Ultimate would have really came in and helped, or Premium or whatever. Premium or Ultimate would have helped us out a lot because you had the group level tickets that they have where you can create a group level issue. And so that would
Oh,
have helped us out
yeah.
immensely.
So I'm interested with that, because I think what you're possibly referring to is it epics or not quite?
No.
Okay, because I was going to say like epics have been available for a very long time. They're kind of group level issues, but since they converted to work items I think are more flexible. But I'm just going to have a look because I don't think you can create a work item at group level. Oh, maybe you can
Some
actually.
type of group items like OKRs, you can do it at group level if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there was something that had just come out, and I'm like, I told my boss at the time, Dustin, this is exactly what you want. And then we did the 30-day trial that they let us do, and it worked great. And then I'm like, okay, it's going to be this much amount per month. Go, I'm just give me your credit card. Let's bypass the boss's boss or his boss. So just go
At
around
group,
and slow.
yeah. At a group level, you can also create epics now that are being, but well, you always could create epics, but now, well, it's close to an year now that they have been merged into work items, and they are working on opening all type, no, project level epics or group level issues. I don't remember which one.
Yeah, that's what I was sort of, although the kind of concept of an epic I'm interested because I do think it might sort of get phased out if that makes sense because it's like well they're all just work items. Who cares like what you call it, whether you call it an issue or an epic.
Potentially, yes, because they are just one kind of work item.
Yeah, and what they I think what work items unlocked, I don't remember when, but at some point, like anything can have a child, right? So issues can have child issues or tasks, I think.
Not really. I mean, not every type of work item can have children because issues can have tasks, epics can have issues, but tasks cannot be broken down into more tasks.
Right, okay, okay. But technically, I think the architecture is such that um, any work item can have children. Um, but yeah. Cool, cool, awesome. I think it's me wrapped up. I'm just trying to work out. I think the rain outside is too severe for me to get any fresh air this lunchtime, but definitely some lunch.
And I went to Arizona last week, and Arizona's a desert. And of course, the time I'm there, it does nothing but rain all week. So
Ended that like 17-year dry spout.
something like that. It was so bad that they delayed my plane taking off by like 3 hours. And I'm like, really? I've
Uh,
sit in an airport for 3 extra hours.
at least you weren't sat on the plane. I don't remember how long before they have to take you off, but yeah, that would have been worse.
I don't think we have a rule like that, at least
Oh,
on.
really?
I don't think we
Yeah.
do.
Well, good to see you both. Have a great week and hopefully catch you next week.